Today, we are diving into a topic that's crucial yet often overlooked: financial literacy. But don't worry, we're not going to bore you with the numbers and jargon. Instead, we've got someone who has made finance fun. So if you ever wondered how you can increase your wealth while having a blast, then you're in the right place. Our guest today is an innovative mind behind financial literacy card game, Affluent. Please welcome Patrick Chang.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi Patrick. If you could take us back to the exact moment when the idea for Affluent first struck you, where will we be?
Well, it happens in March 2018. That afternoon, I was actually facilitating a popular card game workshop. There were about 30 plus participants, mainly those in their 40 and 50s. It's actually a real estate company. So what happened was the game was played for about 3 hours, very noisy, because for most of the participants, they have very little knowledge of the game and also the financial principle in nature. I find the game actually a bit too tedious for the participant, and the concept from my observation are not so easy for them to appreciate. So after the game, I in fact have migraine because of the noise generated in that room of 30 plus people, all shouting, talking loudly. And then the thought came into my mind, can there be a way to make financial game simpler? Not so much paper recording, don't have to play 3-4 hours or more. And that's how it triggered my idea of wanting to create my own financial game.
The card game that you created, Affluent, the key point that you want to drive across is less people recording and played in a shorter amount of time.
What I have in mind then was to create a game that equally interesting, equally educational, need just an hour to finish the game. And so far the game has managed to finish within an hour. There will not be any paper recording, so that the focus will be strictly on learning from the gameplay itself. These are the two main criteria I have in mind when I wanted to create my own financial card game.
Thanks for sharing the journey, Patrick. In one sentence, how would you describe Affluent to someone who has never heard of it?
Affluent is an exciting, fast-paced, and entertaining game to gain financial knowledge and up the financial literacy level without spending too much time on the game itself.
I love it. Exciting, fast-paced, entertaining.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very exciting.
Okay, that's awesome. What's the most surprising reaction you have ever received from a player of Affluent?
Okay, well, the most surprising and perhaps the most pleasant one that I got was when the player showed no interest when the game started. But later, when the game is over, asked me if he could play a second round.
Oh.
So I think that was the most surprising and the most satisfying response.
Did you let him straight away play the second round, or you organize a separate session?
We played a second round immediately.
Wow. Can you name one financial concept that every player will understand better after playing Affluent?
That would be the need to take proactive action to plan for the financial well-being and getting prepared for events that could create havoc in the plan. Such an example that is like to accumulate your wealth, but also making plans to protect and preserve your wealth at the same time.
It's very interesting because a lot of us is very focused on just accumulation, the protection and preservation. It sounds like only during retirement years then I start to think about it. In the earlier years, the working years, everybody just focus on where can I earn more money, where can I get the best bang of my buck. What's your favorite event card in the game and why?
Well, my favorite card in the game must be the scam card. Players really feel the pain of losses when they are dealt with a scam card. Their losses are heavy, even so much so that they have to rebuild their wealth all over again. Actually reminded them of how financial scam, especially investment scam, can hurt their financial well-being really hard in the game and also in the real world.
Could you elaborate a little bit of how this scam card works in the gameplay then?
When they are dealt with a scam card, like in the real world, they will suffer financial losses. And these financial losses include the so-called cash in their hand, as well as part of their investment. And for some of them, they could be on their way to winning the game, but because of being hit by a scam, they found that they actually have to rebuild financial resources all over again and may even lose the game eventually. But the key point is letting them feel that it is always very important to have some knowledge of the red flag of scams. so that they can prevent themselves in the real world from falling into such trap.
With the proliferation of online shopping, everything going online, digital payment and stuff, increased widespread of scam just in the digital space, right? So having a card is really helpful in giving us, the player, awareness what that could impact on our whole personal finance portfolio.
Yeah, in fact, according to the Singapore Police Force report, although investment scams are not the most frequently happen scam in Singapore, most of them are telephone scam. Their losses are actually more than half of the total loss in scam. So it is actually really important to some knowledge and understanding of how actually this scam work, because you can identify a certain recurring patterns in these scams.
What you mentioned reminds me of like recent news I seen online where people are able to authenticate using your SingPass, your OTP, and transfer money even from CPF that is super secure, go through your bank and take your money away from you, right? So what are some of the financial concepts that's being covered in the game?
Okay, some of them include any time is a good time to invest, regardless of whether it's bull or bear market. The importance of not just accumulating wealth, there should also be action taken to preserve and protect the value of your wealth. At the same time, doing a proper financial management through utilizing financial statement, personal financial statement. Always be ready for hardship that may come about. For example, retrenchment, another pandemic, things that would really throw anybody's financial plan into chaos.
I mean, I like all the four sort of financial concepts you mentioned. It's a good segue into how does the gameplay of Affluent simulate real-life financial situation.
One of the key things about this game is that in each round, the player have to make one decision from the various options that is available to them. The player may find that he has the opportunity to accumulate his wealth, get an investment, or get himself out of the market to preserve the value. But of all these choices, he can only make one decision, make one action. Eventually, he has to face with the consequences of that decision. So you will see player say things like, "Oh, I should have guessed it," or I made the decision a bit too fast, too late." It is also to bring out the point that the outcome of any decision that we make, just like in real life, is a matter of our own action and as much as the uncontrollable forces out there. So we may have think that we made the right decision, plan our financial well, and then the person got hit by a retrenchment. So that happened in the game, and it also happened in the real world.
I mean, the hit by retrenchment story you mentioned reminds me like when people go into a very expensive mortgage thinking that their job is stable, they're able to finance a 30-year mortgage loan, and then suddenly retrenchment comes about, and then it becomes very financial straining to maintain the mortgage. What was the biggest change in the game from its initial concept to the final product?
From the start, I wanted to create just simple game that is easier to play, easier to learn, don't have to play for long hours. So it's actually quite a simple financial tool. But now it is actually becoming a more complex tool for spreading and learning about financial literacy. So it's not so much of a casual game anymore. It's about playing the game, enjoying the game, and then at the same time learn some financial concept, appreciate it, and having more takeaway from the game itself. So
what was the most challenging financial concept to incorporate into the game?
Okay, I think the most challenging concept is the one about managing wealth through utilizing personal financial statement, because most of us don't have that habit. And even in the game itself, I can only do that much to show that benefit you from using the personal financial statement to manage your money better. It will usually come during the brief or during the lesson part that more will be shared when they actually practice on the financial statement themselves.
But can you elaborate a little bit more the personal financial statement? What does it consist of?
Okay, basically it consists of two statements. One is the personal net worth statement that give a breakdown of all the asset and liability that a person owns, and the other one is about cash flow statement, where do you get the income from and how does the person spend the money. So from there we can identify certain spending pattern, what are those fixed expenses, what are those variable expenses, and then with that, if you want to go deeper, we can explore financial ratio by using both statements to really get a good feel of the health of the current financial situation. Or rather, we can use this cash flow statement to do up the budget, which will be actually a more accurate budget of how the person will allocate his expenses rather than let's do a budget, then they will just fill up the figure. But if they have done a cash flow statement, this will actually be a more realistic budget that they can draft it up.
When you mention financial ratio, do you have any most commonly used financial ratio that you use in doing your workshop?
Okay, financial ratio, there are plenty full. So for personal level wise, it's also easily 10, 20 of them. But the most common one will be 8 of them, such as solvency ratio, how liquid is the person. So if let's say if he lost his job, can he still so-called survive for the next 3 to 6 months? There's another ratio to talk about is your saving ratio. So is the person saving sufficiently if he lost the income source got affected? Then there will also be ratio on debt servicing. So based on the total asset he has and the total liability he has, is the person liquid enough to continue to service the debt? When it comes to investment, as part of his total net worth, how much of that asset in this net worth go into investment? Because as we know, investment is a way to generate passive income and also for capital gain, future growth and things like that. So if you're someone who have a lot of asset but only very little of the asset is in investment, would probably mean that his money is not growing as fast as it could be, and that his passive income is not strong enough also. That means he relies mainly on his active income.
Patrick, you mentioned asset, not in investment. Are you referring to mainly the asset, even though it's a lot, it's all just sitting in the bank and not doing anything?
In a personal financial statement, asset actually is into 3 main categories. One is the cash or near cash asset. There's one thing that what you mentioned earlier, asset that put in fixed deposit or biscuit container that we put it in our cupboard. So all this. Then the second type of asset is asset for our own use, like our residential place, our own car. These are assets that we classify under own use. Then the third one is investment. So investment then would then include financial investment, financial asset investment. It could also be second property or other form of investment with the idea of generating passive income or wanting to create capital gain from all these assets. So basically there are these 3 types. So if someone has very little in investment assets, so you are probably right that probably majority of it go into cash in the bank, or some may actually have it, they bought a 5 million bungalow but they don't really invest. The money are all there, maybe some in cash. So it could be that case as well. Yeah.
The ratios that you mentioned, the most common one, like solvency ratio, reminds me of the need for somebody to have emergency fund at least 3 to 6 months. So should they be in any financial distress, at least they can survive the 3 to 6 months without too much of a worry, right? And then the saving ratio is a very common ratio that when I ask a lot of people, they have no idea out of their active income how much percentage they're actually saving. And so being able to know that when they're doing their personal financial statement, that sounds like a good practice to start practicing.
Yeah, that's why in the Affluent Game, scam cards, financial statement card are originally not in the card itself. But I find that since as the game proceed more towards the area of financial literacy, so I felt that there is actually more content should be added. So therefore, these cards are in the game itself now. And I felt that utilizing financial statement actually can really put the person in a stronger financial position, in the sense that he can now better understand where his money is going, how is he actually doing. Because someone may be earning $100,000 a month, then the other may be earning $20,000 a month. On the surface, the $100,000 one seems to be better. But then if we, let's say we work out the financial statement, then we will find that probably when it comes to cash flow statement, his expenses, especially those fixed expenses, could be very high. But the one that probably earned 20,000, he doesn't have a lot of debt, and most of his money go into some safe investment or some other investment that can generate good return for him. So over the long run, the one that is earning money will probably be in a better financial position than him. Using ratio, you can actually work it out and really have a very good idea of how their position actually look very different when you compare to just looking at the surface of it.
Sounds to me with cash flow statement and a net worth statement, there has to be some form of Excel work or some form of recording work being done, right? And you mentioned one of the key features of the game was to know people recording. So I'm just very curious, when playing the game of Affluent, how do you really bring out the importance of a personal financial statement to the players?
That is why I said this is the most challenging concept. So what happened is this will only happen after the game.
Okay.
After the game, then we say, you see, in the game, when you use this card, you actually got some profit or financial return from it. So then it will then come into explaining. So do you all know what are these financial statements? I can then proceed to explain and then probably get them to do up their own or show sample of how the ratio are calculated. Then they can do it on their own later.
Totally understand now. That was a very, very fun. I mean, we dig into a lot of different topics. As we wrap up, could you tell us about your future plans? Is there any upcoming projects or where our audience can purchase the Affluent game then?
Sure. Okay, my future plan for Affluent and its related workshop will include spreading the wing of the importance of financial literacy, not just in Singapore, but I'm also hoping that it will go beyond the shore and within the regional countries. So creating more relevant cards for different play scenarios, digitizing the game are also some of the future plans I have. Currently, as to where to buy the game, they are only available during my Affluent Game workshop and by my social page. So I'm not marketing it through retail outlet.
Thank you, Patrick, for your time today. I would really like to thank Patrick again for sharing your journey and insights into the creation of Affluent Game. And to our audience who are based in Singapore, actually, we are looking to host a meetup to let you play the game and experience it for yourself, right? So you'll be able to register your interest via the link in the description. And remember, keep learning and keep improving your personal finance game. And thank you, Patrick, for your time today.
Yeah, sorry. May I add something that I left out? Okay, this game, there are two ways you can play. One is either, if let's say we have about 5 players, we can play as single player. 5 individual play the game. So suppose we are able to get 10 people, then we can play the game in the format of a tag team. That means it will be 5 group of 2, where 2 will form a group and then you play the game together. And I can rest assure you, by playing in a tag team format, there's so much more learning you can get from it. And the game will be even more exciting because you will need then to communicate with your partner on what you all should do for this round and what happens if both of you do not agree with one another and the decision seems to be a wrong one later. So it creates a lot of dynamic in the game, and I can tell you that learning is fantastic and it's full of fireworks. So if we can get 8 to 10 or even 12 people, we can form a tag team way of playing the game.
The tag team concept you mentioned sounds like if we can get like 6 couples to play together, husband and wife to know of their own financial inclination, like it's that's where the fireworks will happen.
Yes. That would be very interesting, and also probably even more interesting if the couple are not married. So probably even more fireworks.
I can totally relate to that. Okay. I mean, thanks for sharing that in terms of the different gameplay. So depending on the interest shared by the audience, we will determine whether we will get 5 to 12 players to host it and then we play. Is there anything else you would like to add, Patrick?
Yeah, thank you for having me in your show and give me the opportunity to share. Thank you very much.
Okay.